Okay, so about like any engine, you want to make sure before you start taking this timing set apart that your dot to dot on your camshaft gear and on your crank gear. So it's hard to see, but there's a dot right there on that tooth. It lines up with the corresponding dot in the pulley, straight up. So now that we're there, we want to pull this cam bolt off. That should loosen up this top pulley and the fuel pump eccentric. So we'll get to that next. Okay, I'm having some issues getting the distributor drive gear off. It's really tight on there, and these should slide off with relative ease. Now I'm going to take a torch and just give that just a hair of heat in there and see if I can work it out with a screwdriver. Now, there's no way that gets it any warmer than just normal operating temperature. I'll work that gear off. Alright, after about 20 seconds with the MAP gas torch, she slid right off like it's supposed to. Now that, in all honesty, that's no more than just normal operating temperature on that gear. I can actually touch it. It's not that hot. So from there, the next thing to slide off, and we want to pay attention to its orientation. It looks like so. Mounted on there is the fuel pump eccentric, and it slid right on off there. Okay, there's that stuff for cleanup later. Alright, so the next thing is going to be pulling these gears off. So, fun times. Okay, now you should be using a gear puller to do this. I'm not arguing that point. But both of the cam gear and the crank gear on this are relatively loose fitting. So, I got a crowbar here. You see the gears are loose enough that I can just slide them. Now I just slid this one forward a second ago and then knocked it back. Okay, just kind of wiggling and they're moving forward. If you hit any kind of resistance doing this, go get you a 2-jaw or a 3-jaw puller. You can take the lengths out of the chain and get it right out of your way, just like a bicycle chain or something, or a motorcycle chain. But considering this is coming apart so easily, and I mean, I'm not putting any pressure on that at all. Like, literally just wiggle it and they were both loose. You got to slide them off pretty well at the same time. So now, and I'm sorry this video is rough to do. I'll see if I can get this one off here by hand. And see, both of them should come off together and pick up just straight up out of there, like so. Alright, so there's that. So now, hopefully everything goes back together as easily as that just come apart. Another thing I went ahead and did is I went ahead and slipped our gears on here for a test fit to make sure that we are dot to dot exactly on our alignment here. And it looks like we're a half a tooth off, if you ask me. So we're going to turn the crankshaft just a hair to get that to line up. Oh, actually, now that I'm looking at it, I have to get a straight edge. Man, might be just a fizz off. Yeah, it looks like we're about a half a tooth off. So, I'm gonna have to do some adjustment there. Okay, now, one thing you want to make sure of on these AMCs is that this oiling groove lines up with the hole on the end of the cam, which the oil hole is right there. That's how you get oil pressure out to the distributor drive gear, and it also lubes your fuel centric. But as you can see in here, there's little oil holes that come in. Oil comes in through that groove, and then there's holes that come out on this side, to lube the distributor gear. And then this washer on the end kind of acts like a crush washer or a seal, or I guess maybe you could call that like an oil dam in there, keep you from losing pressure. So now, just looking at this, these two gears appear to have the correct or the same positioning of this oil galley. Now, if you set these gears on top of each other and line the keyway up, you can see that those oil holes line up. Now, you could also mark the cam with like a paint marker and then slide this gear on and see if it lines up. I ain't no professional engine builder, but I can tell you that that's close enough that you're going to get some amount of oil flow through there. So, now that we have that, there's a bunch of cardboard and stuff on this gear. I'm going to go ahead and clean that mess up, and then we'll slide this stuff back together on there. Yep, we're just ever so slightly off there, so we'll bump the crank just a hair, and then we'll reassemble this rolling set, or timing set. Now if this will focus, and you can see right here's our timing mark. We're basically dead on the money. Center to center. If it's a degree or so, it's okay, I guess, but that's as close as I think I can get it. So now we'll pull these off, clean them up, and we'll throw the chain on. Okay, there's absolutely no good way to video doing this. So I've got the cam gear set on there in position and the timing chain set on there in position. So now what I'm going to do, we already know that we should be in time. I've went ahead and now I've slid the crank gear on the bottom. So now if I can do this without knocking you off where I got you propped up to, I'm going to slide everything straight out. Try to set that crank gear into where it needs to go. The cam gear up to where it needs to be without turning a bunch of stuff. You have to set these gears down into the slots in the chain. They have to be in the perfect orientation. For where and how they are to ride on the two shafts. And it would appear there it is, I got it. So now push everything back into its position. And then we'll double check our timing marks. Okay, so now we're going to reassemble some things in real quick succession. First thing, we got the oil slinger. It's dished. Backside here rides up against the cam gear. The dish should be outward. So it's got a keyway slot in it. Slide it back over there. Then the next thing is going to be the fuel pump eccentric. It slides on the keyways. Whole end goes up, rides back across there. Then the next piece to go on is the cam, or the distributor drive gear, which in this one is a snug fit, I might say. Lines up on the keyway. Okay, then your bolt goes back in your cam. Like I said, it's pretty easy to not mess this up. You're just going dot to dot, lining your dots up. If you want it to be as close as you can to having it perfectly lined up. But if you happen to be off like a quarter of a tooth or something very minute like that, yes, it's going to make a difference down the road, but you'll be able to get it to run. So that one there is pretty daggone close. Now that's a 9/16 on that cam gear. So we're going to go ahead and tighten on this a little bit. And we're going to go until we just get it snug. That's pretty well snug. And then you check our slop. There's less slop in that chain than what was in the other chain. That's for sure. And we won't ever have to worry about that nylon coming apart. So now that we're back to that spot, we're going to look the torque spec up on that. And we'll torque that bolt in, and then that'll be the end of this part of, well, that'll be the end of this video. Then we're gonna do a little more cleaning on these gasket surfaces, and we'll get our intake, or get our timing cover installed. Okay, torque spec on this cam bolt is 30 foot-pounds. I took it to 20 first. And now we're going to take it to 30. There's 30 foot-pounds. So I had already actually done that once. Thought I was recording it. So I always like to go back and check bolts that I torque after about 5 minutes of letting them sit. So it kind of worked out. Still at 30 foot-pounds there. So I started out at 20 foot-pounds, and then bumped it up to 30. Just 50-year-old cam bolt, you know what I mean? So anyway, there's our timing set assembled. Definitely has less slop in it than the other one. And now we don't have to worry about that Teflon wearing out. So if y'all are doing this at home, and considering from what I've read on the AMC forums online, people have problems with a lot of these aftermarket timing sets having the oil hole drilled, or the oil galley drilled wrong in the back of that cam gear. This one seemed to be correct. If you're wanting a factory replacement timing set, right here's the part number, C-3008K. It's Coils brand. Anyway, went together pretty good, so that'll do it for this video, and then next step will be putting the used new timing cover on. So y'all have a good one, and we'll see you when we get this other cover on.